Hello and welcome to our March 3rd Tuesday at 3 series event, Managed Cloud Services Update. I'm Alan Falcon, CEO of Cumulus Global, and I want to thank you for joining us here, whether you're joining us for the live event or you're watching this event from our website on demand. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and week. Before we get into the session, we are going to move quickly through a whole bunch of information. A reminder that we've muted the audio to prevent any background noise from interfering with your enjoyment. So if you have any questions or comments along the top or right-hand side of your screen, there's some icons. One of them opens a questions window. That will alert me that you've got a question. I can answer it in line or at the end of the presentation. And if it requires something for, with further follow-up, I can get back to you after the session as well. It's the best way to track to make sure we've got all of your questions answered. As with all of our online events, we're recording this session. We generally get it up to our website within 24 hours. We'll send you a link. Feel free to share with coworkers, acquaintances who you think might find the information valuable. And just a reminder that whether you want to read, watch, or explore additional information about cloud computing and cloud forward services for small and mid-sized businesses, our resource center is a central location where we generate information as well as collate other expert advice and information as well. And I'll just note today that we've got not only our monthly newsletter, but 2 weekly bulletins, one focused on Microsoft Cloud and one focused on Google Workspace and Google Cloud that really keep you abreast of new features, capabilities, and changes happening in those environments. So when we talk about managed cloud services, sort of want to take a definition. A lot of people are familiar with what a managed service provider is in our industry, an IT firm that you're outsourcing IT to. A lot of different organizations with a wide variety of services put the MSP label on themselves. So when we look at managed cloud services, we define it slightly differently because we have a slightly different focus than the traditional MSP, and we'll talk about that today. For us, managed cloud services is the outsourcing of responsibility for management, administration, and securing your cloud-based and cloud-connected information technologies and services. It's similar to what people envision as a traditional MSP, but our focus really isn't on devices, it's on the services that you're delivering and the people who are using it. And so it's a slightly different approach. So we make that comparison in a little more detail. A traditional MSP, historically, they focus on things. We're going to, manage your PCs. We're going to manage your servers. We're going to secure your networks. And after that, they say, okay, now we're running your infrastructure. Let's talk about your user accounts and their access, your security, your cloud subscriptions. That's how they layer the services on. And typically, in a traditional MSP, a co-management model is full or partial outsourcing. And so, there's some MSPs, for example, that say, hey, if it's co-managed, then the customer is providing the tier 1 help desk and the MSP is providing all other, tier 2, tier 3 help, as well as all operations management and security. And they'll say a fully outsourced environment or a fully managed service. The MSP is providing that level 1 help desk as well. Other MSPs sort of look at it as saying, we're going to outsource some of your services. So for example, a traditional MSP might run your networks, your Active Directory environment for your servers, your file services, and certain application services, but they won't support the database server that's running a custom application, or they'll rely on, if you're running an in-house accounting system, they'll rely on that VAR or that vendor to manage that system as well. And so there are different definitions when it comes to co-management and who's responsible for us. Our definition as a co-management model is really about remote. And that we look at it and say that we're going to manage everything in your cloud. And those cloud services will help you and help manage or manage the services that are connecting to the cloud, whether it's device, server, network, etc. And the real difference for us as co-management is we're there to do full administration and management in your environment if you want us to. Our expectation, however, is that on site, you're our eyes and hands. So when we put in a managed local area network, if there's a switch that's having a problem and we can't fix it with remote configuration or remote diagnostics and updates, then we're going to ship a pre-configured replacement to you. You're the eyes and hands. You're going to unplug the device that's currently plugged in, replug in the new device in the exact same way the old one was plugged in, and put the old one in the box and send it back to us or to the vendor. And so our focus is a little different in how we work. So our focus is on secure delivery of cloud services and solutions. That's where we start. What are you doing in the cloud? Why? Let's make sure it's productive, cost-effective, and secure for your business. And this includes the services not only for individual users like your Microsoft 365 account or your Google Workspace account that gives you your productivity tools. It's important at the domain level where you're looking at broader security issues, managing your email service, backup and recovery services, things of that nature. And so our focus when we talk about secure delivery of those cloud services includes security, access, and data protection services. And we scale those based on the needs of your business, your size, the industry you're in, any regulatory or industry standards that you are required to meet. From then, we move on to the environment that accesses and integrates with these services. That's where we start getting into end user devices, local applications, your local networks, or the wide area networks we're using and how you're accessing it. And again, the co-management model is we're designed very efficiently and effectively to manage everything in the cloud. We reach down into the premise for the things that are connecting to the cloud. But again, co-management, yes, you can take on some of the administration responsibility for cloud services you want. We're here to do that fully for you. That co-management piece for us is that when something goes wrong on premise, we'll help you get it fixed, but your eyes and hands. And again, if we need to bring in an outside resource or an expert in something, we're going to do that for you or connect you with that, that service provider that can come on site. Now, when we talk about our managed cloud services, we have a number of service options. All of our service packages and options include what we see as our basic essential security and data protections. This is the really bare minimum that any small and mid-sized business should have. And first and foremost, it's enhanced email threat protection. And I'll get into that. This is actually one of the changes we're making in our packages this month. Backup and recovery of your cloud content. Hey, if you've had a file server on your site, in the closet, in the data room, or in a hosted data center, you're backing up that file server. You want to know that if a file gets damaged or deleted or something physically goes wrong with that server, you can recover your data. Working in the cloud is no exception. Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, all work, both work, and other vendors do as well on what they call the shared responsibility model. They're backing up and managing the system so that the service is available to you. However, you control the permissions, the access, and it's your responsibility to make sure that if your data is corrupted or lost, that you have the ability to recover it. They'll recover the service, you have to recover your data. And so it's an essential service. The other thing we always include in all of our packages, particularly as a lot of organizations have endpoint protection, but not advanced or next gen as we like to call it, is that next gen endpoint protection. We want to make sure that the devices connecting to the cloud have the best protection against the most common forms and zero-day malware. Now, our packages offer scalable services to meet the common business needs. And we sort of map these in based on feedback for our customers. And again, as we talk about the changes, this is because we're responding to what customers want and don't want on each of the package levels. And most of our scaling is around two factors. One, security, and two, administration of your cloud environment for productivity and efficiency. And so now let's take a look at those packages. As I mentioned, our essential package includes those essential security services. It also comes with our premium admin, which is remote administration of your cloud environment and the services we deliver, and that remote co-managed services I talked about. It includes advanced email threat protection, backup and recovery for your data within Google Workspace and or Microsoft 365. Yes, we do have clients who run both, as well as that next-gen endpoint protection. So what's new in our Essentials package that we're announcing today? We're upgrading the email threat protection services that we're using and bundling in. We're doing that for a couple of reasons. One, technical issues on the handling of outbound email and those types of services, but more importantly, new and enhanced levels of protection for you on email that comes in. We know that over 80% of all cyber attacks start in some way or involve email. And whether it's a method of attack or it's emails being used to build trust or scope a network or gain information that can be used for a different form of attack, it's there. And so going beyond the header management and sandboxing emails and testing links and verifying links against domains, in all of the very robust email threat protection services that are out there. The service we're running with now also uses AI and computer vision to do a visual inspection of email. This helps with brand forgeries and the fact that email scammers and attackers are using images of text rather than the text itself to make it harder for the email protection services to detect the fraud. Similarly, because of that vision component, they can actually scan and test and sandbox QR codes, preventing dangerous links, and the use of banners. And the use of banners really notifies the user of different levels of suspicion or safety around emails, and also provides the mechanism for a user to say, hey, this email is something I trust and it's safe to let through going forward, and giving the user the ability to teach the system for them. So I might get an email that I'm a subscriber on a newsletter, it's getting flagged as suspicious. I could say, no, this is a legitimate newsletter. I'm a subscriber. It'll continue to come through. We then step up to basic, which takes everything in that essentials plan and adds additional capabilities. This is where we start reaching in to the environment that's connecting to your cloud services. Remote monitoring and management of end user computers. This means ensuring that updates, OS updates and certain software updates are happening on schedule, that we have an accurate inventory and lifecycle information about the devices, knowing when they might need, when they'll be out of warranty, when they might need to be scheduled for replacement, how secure are they, what activity is happening, who's accessing them, things of that nature. We upgrade our cloud backup recovery services to include active monitoring and reporting, so we'll alert you very actively if certain user accounts or certain data is not being backed up, or if recovery efforts have been triggered by individual users. And here we also add DNS and web protection. And this is really something that's new at this level. The web filtering and monitoring and the DNS protection is really to prevent malware downloads from websites, even trusted websites that get hacked or include unsafe third-party content, as well as DNS-style attacks against your environment. So this used to be part of our business plan. We've brought it down to basic because the need is there for a greater number of our customers, and smaller customers that may not see the business plan as appropriate for them still need this level of protection. Additionally, the version of email threat protection services is a little more advanced. This version has enhanced zero-day capabilities, gray mail management, something I referred to earlier. In how do you manage mail that's sent to mailing lists or is bulk mail, but you want to receive it, you don't consider it spam, as well as monitoring of DMARC. And DMARC monitoring is a way to ensure that if your DNS environment set up properly, DMARC monitoring will let you know how recipients are receiving your emails, whether they're being identified as spam, which can mean someone is attempting to spoof your email, spoof your IP addresses, spoof your identity, and making outbound mail that's not from you look like it's from you. And we do some basic, in this level of service includes monitoring of that so we can identify any potential issues. And again, this is our most popular plan because it fits the needs of most of our businesses. Now, you might look at this plan and say, great, these services are what I want and need to properly secure my environment. I'm a Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace user, but I've got other needs because I'm in an industry that requires archiving and compliant e-discovery services, or I deal with sensitive information. I need email encryption services at the message level. We can add those in to this basic plan. Our best value as far as the services we've bundled and the pricing and the value it provides is our business plan. Here, in addition to everything in the essentials and the basic plans, we add on some best practice security and more advanced administration services. So at this level, we include security awareness training for your team so that they get periodic reminders, periodic testing, and periodic courses that they take, short ones, 2-3 minutes each, to keep them current on risks and how their behavior can help or hurt the problem of cyber attacks. Advanced administration tools give you a better onboarding and offboarding. So businesses that have cyclical employees, seasonal employees, or are growing will find that advanced administration tools to onboard and offboard, makes things more secure and more reliable and more efficient. We provide multi-factor and help manage your multi-factor authentication services for all of the products and services we're delivering, as well as help you manage your local disk encryption services, including the ability to securely store local disk encryption passwords, so that if a user forgets their password, we're still able to decrypt and make sure that drive is usable. We bring in some basic tools for file permissions management, as well as I talked about, those advanced administration tools. The files permission management is easy because it is interesting, because what it really does is let you set up and monitor permissions for your file services. So if you're keeping data in OneDrive and SharePoint, or My Drive and shared drives on the Google side, these file permission management services have rules that will look at the content of those files, look at the permissions and compare it against rules, and let you know if a file is being shared inappropriately. And this is essential if you have HIPAA compliance and other types of compliance requirements on your business, where you need to keep PHI or personally identifiable information or customer account information, or even your own intellectual property secure. And so we build that in to add on to the file service, and we have some ability even to automate mitigation here, where we can strip permissions or notify people that there's a potential risk, and help you with that as well. From business, which is our best value, we step up to Premier. Again, all the capabilities roll forward, but we continue to enhance with more advanced security awareness training. This gives us the ability to help work with you to customize the topics, the frequency, the messaging that's there to your specific needs and your specific user communities, even having different programs for different parts of your business, typically applicable for larger businesses among our customer base. We step up our data loss prevention and compliance services. We're not just now monitoring permissions in your file services, we're also actively monitoring and managing permissions and data loss prevention in email as well. And we have options at this level for advanced mobile and end user device management, which really gives you control, particularly if you're predominantly BYOD, gives you a mechanism to segregate personal and work and company information on end user devices. And if something happens to that device, make sure that information isn't accessible to anyone who shouldn't have it. When I focus on what's new in this level right now is the expanded data loss prevention and compliance services. It has the policy-based assessment of contents against standard as well as custom business rule sets. It will do identification and reporting, including real-time sending email messages to security personnel, the user's manager, HR. That's all customizable, and includes automatic mitigation, which can involve stripping the permissions if need be, or providing time-limited access. So for example, I might share something with a customer that includes confidential information. It's tied to a proposal. The proposal is only valid for a week. We can make sure that their access to that confidential information that they need with the proposal is only there for the duration the proposal is valid, and set that time limit access to it. And again, not just file services, email, it can obscure or remove information from emails or keep emails from being sent if they're going to cause a data leak or a breach of some kind. And so it's a powerful tool. I know what some people are saying, well, gee, if I upgrade my Microsoft 365 or my Google Workspace licensing, don't I get that level of capability? My answer there is yes, for the most part. What the system we're embedding in and bundling in has a much more intuitive and user-friendly user interface. It can be delegated, so you don't need admin or super admin privileges in the domain to use it. Additionally, particularly since we service small, mid-sized companies, if you're running, Microsoft 365, business, premium, or you're running Google Workspace Business Plus, the cost of moving into this bundle, up from our business bundle, is less than the cost of upgrading your Google Workspace license to get the comparable or near almost comparable DLP services. And so it's a easier to manage and use environment. that is, in most cases, less costly, therefore providing a better value than simply upgrading the underlying productivity suite license. Okay, now, at all of the levels, as I mentioned, we have options and customizations. Again, our goal is to meet your security, administrative, and operational needs. We want the environments, first and foremost, to be productive for you and your team. We want them to be appropriately secure for your business. And yes, we've got blog posts that we've talked about when it comes to security, that enough is enough. You don't necessarily have to overdo it. And we take that very pragmatic approach to heart. And so some of the optimizations and customizations we have is multiple levels, as I mentioned, multiple levels of email threat protection, up to and including a very elegant message level encryption system that if you're sending secure information, it's going to encrypt it. The user gets a link. They do a very simple validation. They have access to the information. They can reply securely. And again, you can control how long they have access, whether they're allowed to print or download, what they do with that sensitive information. Moving up from DMARC monitoring to active DMARC monitoring and reporting, this would actually generate service tickets for certain issues or frequency of issues that could indicate that potentially someone's trying to perpetrate a business email compromise or is trying to use your identity, which can hurt the deliverability and the reputation of your emails. Or it could be someone attacking you, trying to pretend to be someone from within the company. We get those active and open service tickets, can respond. We offer third-party breach monitoring. We know that 70% of us use passwords that are similar or follow patterns to our primary systems. So, if I'm logging into LinkedIn with my work email and my password is similar to my Microsoft 365 password, and LinkedIn has a breach, which they've had, cyber attacker is going to look at the pattern of that password. They're going to try variants. They're going to, mix and match. It's a much shorter path to cracking your credentials. We offer device backup and recovery and continuity. Most of our clients use this for protection of critical PCs, particularly our small and very small businesses, where if you lose your laptop for a week because the screen died or the hard disk failed, we have the ability to spin up an image of that device in a cloud data center. You can access it through a web browser. It's not as pretty, it's not as fast, but you can be up and running your business while we get that laptop fixed for you, or while you get that laptop fixed or replaced. And finally, domain identity and access management. What we've noticed is more and more moves into the cloud, the need for the on-premise Active Directory server and service isn't necessary for a lot of businesses, and removing that from the ecosystem can generate savings. You may still want to control access to laptops and computers. And so how do you manage that Windows password that comes up in a way that's corporate, business controlled and works even when that laptop is offline and not connected to your network? We've got services and tools to do that for you and can provide that in, often at a cost significantly lower than maintaining an Active Directory server and those services on premise. We also have value-added services beyond. Again, we start in the cloud. We focus on the devices and the people who are connecting to your cloud services. We can then, as a value add, step further into your environment. So we do offer wireline and wireless network services, connecting your premises or even home offices to the internet. We provide managed local area networks where we're able to see the performance and efficacy of your routers, firewalls, switches, your Wi-Fi access points, even quality of service settings and configurations and virtual networks for your phone and VoIP and video services. Again, we manage and we configure and manage this remotely. If something goes wrong and we can't fix it remotely, we drop ship replacement hardware that's pre-configured. You plug in the new, plug out the old, send the old back, and we should be good to go. We offer unified communications and VoIP services, not just Google Voice and Microsoft Teams phone services. We work with other vendors that offer, in some instances, more sophisticated solutions, including service desk and call center type applications. And we offer cloud BCDR for on-premise systems. I sort of talked about device backup and recovery for end users. We do provide backup continuity and disaster recovery services for on-premise servers, networks, things of that nature. And we can highly customize those services. So at each tier, you have the ability to step up. You might, your business might match best with our basic service, but hey, on top of that basic service, you also need message level encryption. We can step up just that one component of the service for you for a modest upcharge. You may look at other aspects, and again, we can mix and match. We'll mix and match and tweak it for you all around these basic 4 packages. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and we hope you'll recognize a lot of value. Again, we don't want to oversell, but we want to make sure that you're first and foremost productive, you're secure, and you're operationally sound. So what are we looking at prices? And I blew it. I'm not supposed to go to the slide yet. I'm supposed to tell you that in the Northeast, where we're headquartered, and in the Southeast, where we have a marketing and sales team down in Atlanta, most MSPs, traditional MSPs, run between $140 and $180 per user, which is really per machine. And then they'll charge extra for your firewalls, routers, etc. When we look at ourselves, we focus on the user because they're the ones using the cloud service. So you license your cloud services, or we license your cloud services for you. That's up, that is what it is. Microsoft charges what they charge for Microsoft 365 and Google for Google Workspace. We always explore incentives, upgrade incentives, promotional offerings to lower that licensing cost outside of the licensing cost. Our professional services and the security and administration services that come in our package can start at Essentials at $50 monthly per user, up to the $85 monthly per user for our business. Our Premier is custom pricing because we've yet to say, hey, here's a Premier package, install it for the organization. It's, hey, we need more than business. We want these, what you include in Premier, but we also need these, or we don't need that. And so all of that tends to be custom. And so with your licensing and our managed service packages, you're going to be significantly less than a traditional MSP covering that same user, workstation, and services. And so again, we focus on delivering that value. So what are your next steps? First off, assess. Where are you currently with your security, administration, and management services for your cloud environment? Is it effective for you? Are you sure you're meeting your regulatory or industry standard requirements? And based on that assessment, what are your needs and priorities? You don't always have to fix everything all at once. It can be done in phases, and you can focus on the highest value and highest priority items. To help you, we have some assessment resources. There's a QR code for assessments that brings you to a landing page on our website where we offer 4 different types of assessment: a general assessment about your IT services, one that looks at the business value of what you have in place, a number of assessments related to security and compliance, and specifically a cyber insurance risk assessment that can help you understand where you are with respect to the need and the risk and the type of policy coverage you might want to have when it comes to cyber insurance. With that assessment, we'll talk about your needs and priorities, and from there, we can either move you into one of our managed cloud services in one of those plans, Essential, Basic, Business, or Premier, modify them with any incremental services you need specific to your business, or you can look and say, you know what, I don't really need the remote management and the full co-manage that you offer, but I do want you to be available to answer calls when my IT guy has an issue or question. We can move you into specific services on a more a la carte or a custom bundle basis as well. With that, you'll have a plan. We'll work on the scope, the timing, and the resources necessary to get there. Depends where you are, where you want to be, how much that involves. Most of the time, it's not a very heavy lift. And then we'll make sure that we implement that plan with you or for you, and that in the process we educate, train, and support your team so they understand not only what they need to do and how what they do might change. For example, if we're improving login security, they might see 2-factor authentication for the first time. We'll make sure they understand how to navigate that and work through it efficiently. We'll educate them on why we're doing it and the value it's bringing to the organization. And when they have questions, we can provide that support. And so with that, I'm going to ask if you're interested to reach out. The QR code in the lower right-hand corner we'll schedule an introductory call with one of our cloud advisors. There's no obligation, there's no fee. You can also send us a question, info@cumulusglobal.com, hits our cloud advisory team. We tend to answer most of those within a few hours. At this point, I've covered the content. I want to thank you for joining us. We're pretty much a half hour into it and sort of our time. If you have a question you haven't asked it yet, now's the time to open that questions window. Afterwards, again, you can contact us at info@cumulusglobal.com or use the bit.ly/CG intro call if you want to schedule time to talk to us. You can also reach out to me directly. My email and my phone number on the screen. Please don't call. I should probably pull it off. I'm horrible about answering the phone when I'm busy, and I'm even worse about checking voicemail and answering voicemails. I don't have an assistant. If you send me an email, it's coming to my inbox. I will see it. If I can't get back to you, I will make sure someone on my team does. Okay, and with that, I'm going to say thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to take a second and stop the recording so that folks watching this on demand are sitting around waiting for me to answer any questions that might be there. But thank you for joining me. Once I'm done stopping the recording, I'll come back, one final check for questions. If not, we'll wrap it up and we can all move about our day. Thanks so much for joining, and hopefully we'll hear from you or see you at a future event.